Majority of people feel like they give more than they get. And I think anyone who's an empath or feels like they care for others will feel, I give out so much love, but I don't get as much back. And I was going, well, I'm giving out lots of love and no one's giving me any love. And it was really emotional for me because I just felt like I was investing in people and helping people and supporting people. And I'll never forget that conversation. And even till this day, it's become one of those conversations that stays with me and I remind myself of regularly, hence I put it in the book. The monk said to me, he said, just as there are people that you love and don't love you back, there are people in your life that are investing in you and loving you that you've forgotten about. And it was one of those like stop moments of just, is that true? And I would encourage everyone who's listening and watching right now to really think about that. Think about that person you've been chasing, whether it's a friend, a potential boyfriend or girlfriend, a potential husband or wife, or whatever it may be, or job. And then ask yourself, has someone ever chased you in life? Or has someone ever pursued you in life? Or has someone ever tried to love you in life and you didn't even give them a time of day? The answer is true. I could agree with it. I can completely agree with that. There are people in my life who have done more for me than I could even begin to try and do. And that isn't just parents and family members. I'm talking about people professionally that I just can't repay. And so he spoke about it as a theme called the circle of love, that you will always get the love you give out, you will always get it back. Or whatever you give out, you will always get it back. You just won't get it back from the same people you give it to. And that was really fascinating to me because I also realized that I may have caused hurt to people and they may not have hurt me back, but I've received hurt from people that I never hurt. And so it works both ways, both with hurt and love. And when you see it on both ends, and that's ultimately karma in a tiny nutshell, it's completely grounding in saying, yeah, let me take a real look at my life and where those blind spots are about who I'm not being grateful to, who I'm missing, who I'm not expressing thanks to.
Tell me the Zen story, the pouring of the tea, which is so illustrative of, I think, exactly a large portion of what your book is meant to convey.
So the Zen story about the tea, and I love Zen stories and the book's full of them as you know. The Zen story is where a student approaches a Zen master and a teacher and is complaining about all the challenges in their life and everything they've got going on, and feels like they also have a sense of ego of they know everything that's happening. And the Zen master sees a cup that's full there and starts pouring tea into this cup. And the cup just starts overflowing and the student's looking at it going like, what are you doing? Like, how does this make any sense? And the Zen master says, well, you're just like this cup, right? I can't put any more in, you can't take any more in because you're already full. Like, you think you're full, you think you're done. And that's the point, that you have to always go back to that student mindset. You have to always go back to that emptiness. And I think one of the reasons why we struggle with that is we think that when we're full, we're safe. Our ego makes us believe that when you're full, when you think you know it all, that's when you're safe. The craziest thing is that's when you're at your weakest. And I think that's what we all miss, that when you think, if you think of any company that's ever thought that they had figured it out, that is when they were at their most weakest point. If there's a fighter in a boxing match that thinks that they have perfected this game, that's when they're their weakest. When you're in a relationship and you think, oh, my life is perfect and everything's going great, that's when you're at your weakest. But we find safety in certainty when actually that's what makes us complacent and lose the plot. So that story illustrates the need to always reconnect. Not that we're empty, that we have nothing, but that there is so much more to gain, there is so much more to learn.
Yeah, that idea of if you already think you have all this figured out, then I'm not going to be able to help you. So if somebody's watching this right now with sort of a cynical eye to, yeah, I've heard this before, been there, done that, tried that, I'm suffering from anxiety, depression, but Jay doesn't know my circumstances. One of the things you talk about is how people can begin to slide into a victim mentality. Mm-hmm. How do you help people around that? Why some people really do have it bad. So why do you advise them still to not adopt the victim mentality?
Yeah, so there's a study that I talk about in the book that looks at people who have a victim mindset. And by the way, that is a condition that's adopted. You are not a victim person, like you're not a negative person. You just have adopted a negative sense of thoughts and habits and beliefs. And the study looked at people that had those beliefs and looked at people who didn't. And they were asked to think of a time when they felt they were the victim. And the other people were just asked to think of a time when they were bored. After that, these two sets of people were asked if they'd like to take part in an activity of just helping the team that had created the experiment. And I think the people that were the victim mindset were 25% less likely to offer to help and be a part of this change. And to the degree that sometimes they left trash behind and even took the pens that they were given by the experimenters, to the point that you get so lost in that mentality that you don't even think about helping and getting out of it. So the reason why the victim mindset, it is real in the sense that there are definitely people in the world that have a harder situation than others. That's fact. There's no debating that point, that there are people who have it are harder than other people. There are people that have had it harder than me, but there are also people that have it easier than me. So I've had it harder than some, and same with you. And in our small bubbles, our hardship feels like the worst thing that could ever happen. And that's the craziest thing about pain, is that you only think pain is bad when you're really going through it. And we compare our pain with other people's pain. We say, oh, that person's pain can't be that bad. That person's pain, it's probably a bit less than mine. Because we've never experienced it. So the reason why I encourage people to get out of that mindset is because that's just a one-way ticket to a lifelong commitment to sadness, disappointment, lethargy, complacency, and feeling stuck and lost. There's nothing gained out of feeling sorry for yourself. I don't think there's anyone that I've ever heard say, and I'm open to it, but I've never heard anyone say to me that feeling like a victim my whole life actually helped me find a victory in life. Like, I don't think I've ever heard that. I've never read that in a book. I've never heard it in a documentary. I've never seen it anywhere. So if it's out there, I'm open to it. But when you look at that and you go, is this the life I want to keep living? Do I still want to feel this way? You look at someone like Sindhu Tai, you look at all of these incredible people that have broken barriers. You look at people who were told, Wilma Rudolph was told she would never walk again properly or run at age 9, and went on to be a multiple Olympic gold medalist. When you hear that, you're like, what, really? But that's what's possible. And so no one in the victim mindset has ever seen growth from that mindset. But everyone who has traded that victim mindset for a mindset of acceptance, a mindset of healing, and a mindset of perspective has found their way out. And the mistake we make is we tell people what it's almost like toxic mindset advice, where it's like, oh, stop feeling sorry for yourself, just go out there and do the work. That doesn't work either, because that person needs to accept that they've been through something painful for themselves. So you can't belittle or devalue someone's pain. And often people try and belittle and devalue their own pain to get out of it, but that actually just slows down the process, and then they're back to square one again. So you've got to accept the pain you went through. You've got to accept that you want to heal it. One of the best ways to explain this is how what we search for in our partners or in life is what we did or didn't get from our parents.
That's interesting.
Like literally what we search for, and I've analyzed this in my life a ton and in others. If you look for what you look for in your partner, or for what you look for in life through your bosses, any authorities, anyone who has a position of power in your life, is what you didn't or did get from your parents. And so you're creating a life based on your past trauma or your past challenge. That doesn't lead to a positive relationship. I found myself projecting the patterns, the negative patterns that my parents had into my relationship with my wife. That doesn't create a positive experience. And by the way, I'm not blaming any parents in the world. Everyone's figuring it out, so I'm not even blaming my own. But we need to have the awareness of developing the emotional skills that our parents didn't have. So again, reminding ourselves of being aware that we're literally creating lives that will continue in the same direction unless our mindset changes. Here are 3 signs you're struggling with a lack of purpose. Number 1, you feel pressure to know what you want to do with your life. Number 2, you've lost interest in your own life and feel disconnected. Number 3, you don't know what your skills are or you feel you lack them. Hope is not lost. You can get through this. Having purpose and meaning in our lives helps guide us through the ups and downs and create structure in our day-to-day life. That's why I've partnered with Calm, the leading app for mental health and wellness. The app has a library with thousands of meditations, songs to help you relax and focus, and sleep stories to help you get a good night's rest. And now you can find the Daily J, a daily series where I'm sharing proven tools and techniques to improve your mindset and mental health in a matter of minutes.